Karen Holton TV presents the Aliens and Angels podcast. Meet experiencers, contactees, abductees, ET human hybrids, and more weird paranormal states of reality. Welcome back, everybody. So that's my new intro. I don't know, I'll probably alter it a little bit, but that's my new intro for 2026. I like to keep things interesting. I hope you like it. If you have any feedback, leave me a comment. That would be awesome. Well, today is a special day. I'm honored to bring on my guest, Peter Maxwell Slattery, the Jaya Sanctuary founder. Peter Maxwell Slattery is an author, public speaker, spiritual advisor, and educator on UFOs, UAPs, the paranormal, extraterrestrial, and non-human intelligences, ascension, and human potentiality. Jaya Sanctuary, which is home to the ECETI Australia, includes skywatching, self-mastery, remote viewing, initiating contact, expanded CE5, and much more, focusing on inner development, the environment, science, health, well-being, joy, and bliss. This is actually a template for the new earth. Peter Maxwell Slattery is an international best-selling author, speaker, spiritual advisor, and educator who helps seekers with spiritual development, self-discovery, and connection to spirit guides, soul family, purpose, and finding balance and joy in the earthly experience and the God within. His ET experiences started at an early age and continue to this day with hundreds of witnesses to these events. His experiences with extraterrestrials have led him to help people and groups make ET contact themselves, in addition to healing and tapping into their own abilities. As a facilitator of many worldly disciplines, multidimensional mind, and connecting to the God within, Pete is focused on helping those who seek to awaken the master within. His primary goal of teaching many worldwide to meditate, remote view, and initiate contact with extraterrestrials has led Pete to create a new center for spiritual growth and self-mastery in Victoria, Australia, Jaya Sanctuary. He has appeared on the History Channel's Ancient Aliens and Paranormal Caught on Camera, and many other international television programs, and his most recent documentaries are Multidimensional and Ascension, the UFO and Paranormal Connection. All of the links are featured below in the description. I want to thank you all in advance for liking, commenting, subscribing, and please do share my content with your friends. And I'm also really happy to announce that YouTube channel memberships are now available, so you can help to support my channel and also take advantage of my perks. And with that, we're going to welcome Peter. Welcome to the stage. Welcome to the Aliens and Angels podcast. How you doing?
Good, Karen. It's a pleasure and having me, and thank you for doing so.
Oh, my my pleasure. I'm so excited to have you here. As I was mentioning off camera, I've been watching some of your content, some of your guest appearances on other shows, and it blew me away because we have so much that we know that we have in common. So, like most people who are experiencers, sometimes we just doubt whether or not we're imagining it all because it's so out of step with the mainstream. But when we hear somebody else getting into all the details and we've experienced them the same, it's so exciting because I validate you, you validate me, we validate everybody else having these amazing, amazing experiences. So I thought I would just quickly go into the live chat today. And Denise says, welcome, Peter Maxwell Slattery. And she has put in the live chat, the website. Of course, all of this is going to be in the description below, but still, it's good for folks to have this information. In case you want to just copy and paste it off your device, that would be totally okay. So we've got Denise, my amazing moderator. We've got Fearlessly Phoenixing. She's here today. And we've got somewhere in here, I saw Nina the Mystic. Yes, we do. We have Nina the Mystic here today. So I just wanted to welcome the people that make the time to come into the live chat. So on that happy note, wow, there's so much we could cover. Let's start at the beginning. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started in all of this, Peter?
So it does go back. I usually say the age of 7. There was a few things before that, though. It's more, you could say, vague, vivid the experiences, but vague of what the meaning in the communication was. So around 7, I had a spate of predictions, prophecies, things that would happen that I'd know beforehand. And at that time, my mother actually took me to the doctor to see what was going on. And the doctor's like, well, it's not bad information. So it was sort of like just blow it off, maybe imagination or, but it wasn't bad information. It was sort of just a heads up in a lot of situations, but it was a female voice. So around about a year afterwards, for about a 4-year period, when we moved into a certain house, the experiences picked up and I would be waking up to what I'd describe as white, grey. So the common extraterrestrial that people see, but it's actually white. The skin texture on these beings is very much like cigarette ash, that sort of grainy texture. If you ash a cigarette and you sort of see that texture on it, black eyes, but these were not negative experiences. It was frightful. I didn't know what to do about it, of course. And it was just on and off over a period of years. And then I had my first sighting at the age of 12 of it was an object about 3 times the size of a football field. It was a matte grey. There was sort of no like, I don't know how to explain it, but folds or anything in it. It just looked like a disc. Not a saucer, but an actual disc. And that was in Lavington, New South Wales in Australia. And it was actually down towards an area known as Red Light Hill, a big hill. And it went in front of that until out of view. So that's up to about 12. There was a lot of, over the years, things that would unfold, like high strangeness experiences. And the sightings would continue. And around sort of like 2009, 2010 timeframe, I was doing paranormal investigation. A spark picked up with this again, just with being interested, having experiences. And I would go and do asylums, jails, house calls, things like that over time, once training and clearing and getting rid of negative influences and assisting energies, because one thing I didn't understand at the time that I was psychic, and I don't really like that term or psionic, but I'll use
Yeah.
them to share the information. But around 2010 was a spate of sightings. Some of this ended up on the mainstream news. I went to the Australian Air Services. They had basically nothing to say except that at that time the airport was shut in my area. And that led to eventually blue orbs that would appear in my home. And eventually I started to experience blue light beings that were saying that they're the Elohim. And not long after that, an experience with the Pleiadian intelligence. And pretty much it's been daily since about the end of 2011. And here we are in 2025 now. So a lot of this I've talked about the material over the years. There is 4 books specifically on the experiences, though I've done 13 books that are available. And it's a lot to go into, but that's really just trying to condense it down into the introductory phase of the experiences, I guess, though lifelong.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's when it starts for most of us is in childhood. I didn't see anything that I could but I didn't have the mental concept for what might be an ET or a transdimensional or anything like that. And the first being that I ever saw appeared to me like what I call a fiery griffin. It had like an eagle head, eagle wings, and a lion's body, and it was all on fire. But an afterthought, it might have been a screen memory, but it always came when I was afraid at night. And what was weird too is when I was a child, I was totally aware that there was an unseen reality that I was aware of, that I could sense that, but I didn't, no one else had it or could see it. And then getting on into my childhood, I was told that I shouldn't talk that way because people would think I was crazy. And that was, oh my God, you didn't, everybody, we all cared about what the neighbors thought. This is quite a while ago. I'm a bit old. And but then I went to churches to try to find out what was going on. And then I was told I was evil. So I couldn't win in childhood. I was either a troublemaker, or I was evil, or I was crazy. Oh my God, no. Like I knew it was nothing unnatural or unholy. I don't know if you had any experiences like that, Pete, at all.
Definitely, I was ridiculed pretty much by the town, by the country, and eventually worldwide. Even to this day, I still get, you could say, hate mail on a daily basis from around
Wow.
the world. But I also get a lot of messages of, way more messages of encouragement, and that what I've said or done has helped people. And I think there is the aspect that through our own distortions, our own lens, how we view this reality, you could, if you want to call it the phenomena, how it interfaces with us, depends on us, and it can be a mirror as well. So even the white greys that I speak of, they're actually the guardians, and they're actually white light beings that are part of what was described to me only in recent years. It took them years to explain this, but they're part of what I would describe as the House of Gabriel, Archangel
Hmm.
Gabriel. I've
Hmm.
had similar experiences with beings that are like they're on fire. They're made of light, lion beings, which are protector beings, and they come from various areas as well as Sirius, Lyra, Orion, Leo, a whole heap of other areas we're not aware of. But when you get into the light realms of this, it starts to go into what eventually led me to going back. You could even say to the Bible, though. We could say I'm coming at things in some way of a Christian perspective just from upbringing, but I let the information lead me, because even when the beings revealed the Elohim, I at that time threw everything out, going, it's got to be all ET. It's not angels. And then I realized it's actually both, and a lot more, going into ultra terrestrials,
Oh
nature
yeah.
spirits, elementals. But it does go into ascension, human potentiality, that we are a cell of God. And it goes into what I would describe as the Merkaba, the mystical teachings going into Judaism. But it's really beyond that, because something that I've been bringing to light from my own experiences is merging the Merkaba teachings with the rainbow body teachings in Tibet. And the rainbow body is when you shed the physical form. Now, part of this has been the investigation's been done by Father V. Tizzo, who was sent by the Institute of Noetic Science, I believe, if I remember correctly, to Tibet to go and see if this rainbow body phenomenon is real, where through enlightenment, the physical body's shed and rainbow lights appear with sometimes mystical music. And sometimes finger and hair nails are left, or fingernails and hair is left. Sometimes all that's completely burnt up. Sometimes the body's left, but it starts to shrink in size. And my experiences with some of these intelligences, I've actually seen them go from being a physical being to a Merkaba appearing around them, not just it being an astral thing, and
Hmm.
then turning into rainbow light. And it's actually all connected. But the complexities of this is, yes, there are nuts and bolts and three-dimensional intelligences, but you've also got a perspective of this, that there are a lot of intelligences that are living on Earth in different frequencies, which we call ultra terrestrials, that can even be inside the Earth, even remnants of Lemuria, Atlantis, and ancient civilizations. And some of these beings have ascended, and they can, through thought, appear to us. Now, there can be consciousness assisted technologies that assist with that, but also ultra terrestrials that are extraterrestrials on other worlds. So they're from another world, but even to their own people, they can be an ascended being occupying the
Hmm.
same space. But they can also be assisting other worlds like Yeshua and Mother Mary and Kuan Yin and Padma Sambhava. they're not owned by Earth humans. They're universal beings that are assisting many worlds, and even later coming to the realization and information of Namkai Norbu, who's a Tibetan Dzogchen master rainbow body teacher that's no longer with us. He talks about in the material of the rainbow body teachings being taught in 13 star systems. So this is where the information has led me, as well as opening my own center where I delve into self-mastery, remote viewing. But it's all connected, as you know. It sort of leads on to one thing to another, and you sort of unfold your own manual.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. And that's why it's also hard, at least I found it difficult to talk about because I didn't have the concepts. I had to sort of make up concepts. And then other people didn't know what I was talking about because they didn't have these experiences. And so it can be very confusing. But I have had contact with deceased relatives. I have had contact with um, beings who were once human, who are no longer here to help out with different things that I needed help with. I've had angelic contact, which I consider from the spiritual realms. I've had contact. I haven't had direct contact with like Wolfman or Bigfoot, but I felt their presence when I've been out in the woods, and then I'd get freaked out and run back to the hotel. I've done that a few times. And I'm speaking specifically when I was in Harrison Hot Springs, which is a Bigfoot place where people often find and see Bigfoot, and there's a lot of folklore, wrapped into it.
What
And
state's that in? What state in America is that area?
no, I'm in Canada. This is in British
Oh,
Columbia.
you're up. Yeah, you're up. Yeah, in Canada.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And I lived on Vancouver Island for a while, and so there's a lot of lore of Bigfoot
Yes.
and
Yep.
yeah, and so the whole town of Harrison Hot Springs is actually located where there's this huge hot spring, and the native people called the water Wumchuck. That was the name they gave it because they said there was a healing spirit in the water. So there was that, and then of course there's the Sasquatch sightings and all of that. I'm a little bit scared of Sasquatch because I've lived quite a lot on Vancouver Island. There are women who've been out camping. There's lots of women that go out camping, with not necessarily with a man, right? They just go, I don't know, natural girls, I guess you could call them.
Yeah.
And they've been chased back to their car by Sasquatches wanting to get possibly overly friendly with them. So there's that. But I've also been aware that there are what we would consider extraterrestrials, but they're not. They've been here on Earth longer than what humans have. And then there's the whole unseen reality. Peter, you could get into more of this, but and I know, and probably most of our audience knows that the different frequency wavelengths that we're able to detect through sight, sound, smell, taste, touch is very, very limited. There's a whole lot going on that we have no idea about. And then there's us, like me and you, and some people here in our audience who do pick up on it. And it often causes us to become really afraid at night. And I've noticed there's quite a few comments in the live chat from some of my friends that are saying, even when I was in my late 20s, I was still afraid of the dark, or I was scared. Always scared when I would go to have a shower because I knew something was there. Not to make it sound like these spiritual beings are perverts. I don't think they care about our having a shower or going to the bathroom or whatever. But we definitely sense them. And so I've just noticed, like Nina the Mystic and Fearlessly Phoenixing and Denise and everybody in the live chat, they're all going, yeah, I had that stuff when I was a kid too. So it's so nice to hear an explanation about it. Anyway, sorry, I
You're
should
right.
zip it and let you continue on. But it's an incredible time to be alive, Peter, for me, as far as I'm concerned.
It is, and it does bring out human potentiality, which is part of this, because as this unravels, you learn that the experiences are more about you than anything. But then in the unfolding of that, your part in your purpose, your mission, your part within humanity. And it's very common to have those experiences where there is what we could, if we want to simplify it, there is darkness, there is light, there's trickster energies, and there's a whole heap of other things that if we don't have a first-hand sort of knowing of some of these intelligences, we don't know what their come from is. And it is something that a lot of people wake up to, whether it's past spirits, people that were once human and now they're in a spirit form, extraterrestrials. It could even be just dark energies in general, something coming in from a bad nightmare and a psychic attack. Even stuff that's projected from other humans, not realizing how powerful their consciousness is, to where they can create even a psychic attack on another person, and we can perceive it as a negative experience at night, though it is. The cause of it may not be what one thinks, in terms of not acknowledging how powerful humans are that they could even do that to one another.
Mm-hmm,
And this is where clearings are important, but it also brings out potential within us, because a lot of the time, a lot of these nighttime experiences, people are, again, psychic or psionic, not realizing it. And because of that, they get fearful, rightly so. They're in their bed. They think they're in a safe space, that nothing can come in there, and then it does. And you feel the energy. You can't explain it. Sometimes there's paralysis that does come with it, different from sleep paralysis. And a lot of the time, that paralysis situation can be, if it's got a dark dream before, it can be a form of psychic attack, wanting to derive the energy from the way that you're reacting fearfully, trying to move and you can't after a dark experience, a dark dream. But other times it can be you coming back to the body. It can be you coming back to the body from an extraterrestrial vehicle, because crafts, a lot of these vehicles are like ghosts or apparition. They can go into that state, land on you, and through the calcite crystals that are in the third eye, they resonate with it. There's a piezoelectric effect, which is like the on switch to the inner television, and you can stay on board the craft, or they can resonate with you and bring you on board the craft, or they can pull your consciousness out, put you on the craft, or put you in an avatar. And a lot of these things are happening at times in the sleep state, as explained to me, because the energies are more dormant in our part of the world, wherever we are around those times, because they see us as light. It's a lot easier to work with. It's a lot easier to even work with consciousness-assisted technology to focus it on an intelligence or a group of people. But also, we make serotonin during the day, and it's transferred into melatonin at night, which goes through a process creating DMT. So we naturally produce that, and that's sort of like part of the on switch with the third eye, I think, that we start to have that inner vision, but it shows human potentiality. Just like why a lot of the monks will do OMs or mantras, they're reverberating the sinus cavities, which in effect is reverberating the calcite crystals in the pineal gland, giving a piezoelectric effect again, which is the on switch. And you can also do that from clenching the root chakra, pushing the energy up that way as well. There's many ways that this can be done. But what the experiences lead to, though it can be mystical stuff that I'm speaking about now with the third eye and the process of being psychic and how some of this works, is in fact human potential. Pardon me, I'm mixing up my words today. Potentiality. And so because of that, the strong message coming through, not just from extraterrestrials, but ultra terrestrials and angelic intelligences, predominantly in recent times for me to share, is we need to keep our sovereignty. We need to not just think because something's extraterrestrial, it's better than us or it's more evolved than us, though it may be the vehicle it's experiencing this reality through may be more evolved intelligently in some cases. But we need our own sovereignty to meet these intelligences on par as the greater family. Not look up to them, not look down to them, but see them as equals. And in that, keep our own customs, our own ways as Earth humans that make us us. But we also do need to evolve. And that is through an open mind and loving heart, and just being open to exploring these things that we can't explain, because what lies in that is the next phases of the human journey. And it is exciting times, as you're saying.
Yep, exactly. Now, when I had ET contact, I won't get into it too much because it's kind of a long story, but when I had ET contact, I was transported transdimensionally to what a lot of people would consider a mothership. I call it the big ship, just affectionately. That's what I call it. I mean, I had no vocabulary for all of this, so I made,
Yeah.
words up to describe it, eh? And the ship itself is alive. It's an entity. It sits in an interdimensional envelope so that beings from a number, many different, think of it as a Venn diagram, many different realities, spiritual realities, timelines, positions in the multiverse, what we would consider physical locations, on and on and on, so that beings could freely come and go.
Yep.
And there's a time dilation there. It's nothing like time here. But my experiences only lasted for 3 months of our time, because to be honest with you, it was a lot of information, and it kind of did make me go a bit crazy for a while, because I was trying to process.
You got to
At first,
integrate.
I
Yes.
at first I thought I was dreaming. Then I thought I was imagining it. Then I questioned my sanity. And then I got to the point where I went, oh my gosh, this is something, because it was congruent. It was every night. So I would go to bed at night, and I would go from being here to being there. And I'd wake up in the morning and I'd be back on earth in my bed as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, I had weeks of experiences that my head was so full. It was quite incredible. And I don't really, I say I don't really know why I was chosen for that, because I'm not particularly amazing in any capacity. But I think they knew I have big mouth and I'm not going to shut up about it. And I would be out there telling people, much like what you do. And then other people hear it and they go, oh my God, maybe I'm not crazy. Maybe I'm not imagining this. Maybe this is our natural condition. But I think the thing I really wanted to highlight here is the beings I met are at our next stage of development. So that was one message I got very clearly, that they are not thousands and millions of years more advanced. No, they're at our next stage. So when I saw what life was like and culture was like there, I realized we're almost there. We can do this. But, it takes a little bit of self care and self-development, and all the things that you talk about, which we may consider spiritual. But we can get there. And the template was so amazing. I just had to tell people about it. Anyway, sorry, Peter, for rambling. I do that sometimes.
No, don't be. And look, the mothership experience that you talk about, the way I describe this, a lot of us have these, and I have described them as ships before, though. And in a way, that's exactly what they are. And I'm not saying this for you, but why I bring this up is that we go to what I call transdimensional, multidimensional meeting places regularly. And they are places that they're in a space-time field to where all energies can congregate. So you may go in a physical or non-physical form, because you could go either way to these places. And when you're there, you can have a whole range of different extraterrestrials from different vibratorial states congregate along with
Mm-hmm.
angelic intelligences, and it may be just changing a bit of a soul program that you've got going on.
Yep.
Your purpose, your mission. It could be just getting some intel on stuff that might be happening that's affecting the path, the journey, ways to rectify, to change things. But really, it's just informing us in those states. And sometimes we're giving intel back as well. But at the end of the day, these things are happening to a lot of people, and they're experiencing a lot of different forms of intelligences and just thinking spirit guides, which you can perceive it that way as well. But really, we're meeting with a multitude and so many vast forms of what I say is actually friends and family that we've got in other realms, or in other experiences. And sometimes we've got to be blank slated to a certain extent to do what we've got to do, or in some cases, it could be too much for the human mind to integrate. And to me, working with thousands of people, I actually think everyone's an experiencer. Now, to what extent,
Mm-hmm.
that depends on the person, but I think we're all full-blown experiences. It's just whether we remember, we
Mm-hmm.
don't. And at the end of the day, as I say, how's to help you be a better person? That's what it comes down to. But
It
there's
does.
a lot of these multidimensional meeting places, and the zero point to connect with that is purely through the heart as well. We can do that as we develop our own inner sensitivities and do our practices and become more frequency specific in an awakening state. with the beautiful family that we've got sitting there waiting to connect on a coherent level with us as well.
Now that leads me to another question. There are ET, or I would actually classify them as UFO researchers, and they have kind of cut themselves off from the whole spiritual aspect of this. For me, I can't see how anyone could cut themselves off from the spiritual aspect because I see the phenomenon as being very spiritual. Whether you're meeting ETs, whether you're astral projecting, whether you're remote viewing, I think this is all our God-given talent this is our gift in being human. No wonder some beings, not mentioning any names, but some beings are jealous of our potentiality. It's so incredible and so expansive. But what's your thoughts on the marriage between um, UFO and ET experiences, and then also the spiritual aspect that we no longer have to put it in a religious context? But what's your take on that, Peter?
We're in a situation that we've got to meet people with where they're at. And everyone's at different levels, but we're seeing an exponential jump in human consciousness. So, how it was 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, we're seeing things come full circle a lot quicker. And a lot of, we could say, researchers, when they first get into this, they want to keep it nuts and bolts and science. And we could say, in a way, rightly so, from there come from. But what eventually happens if they're true scientists and true researchers is they've got to let the evidence lead them to where it leads. And eventually it
Mm-hmm.
leads to things like astral projection, remote viewing, psychic phenomena, past life near-death experiences, as well as the paranormal and ghosts. And in some cases, they may not do that publicly. They keep their little niche because there's a lot of well-known names that I'll meet and I'll pull them aside and go, so why did you really get into this? And a majority of the time they've had an experience. They won't talk about it publicly. So they know that this is real, whether it's a conscious thing, whether it's a physical thing. They have their own theories, but eventually they get led into the consciousness aspect. And I'll give you an analogy for this, even with experiences, that
Mm-hmm.
they can be coming at this purely as it's an abduction thing and it's dark. And it may be a dark thing that they've had, they're violated, rightly so. But what happens when they realize that they're not just having one type of experience, it eventually leads to consciousness. And you could say the catch 22 is that the experience led to a soul evolution state down the track. And it may
Mm-hmm.
have not occurred in such a way if that experience didn't happen, even though it was dark and not endorsing it. Like I say, we've got to make lemonade from lemons. We've got to do what we can with what we've got. But I am seeing a big change in the public eye with a lot of the community. It's more a lot of the time the newcomers coming into it now, they're sticking with a bit of an old format for a while till it's like there's just too much data and evidence now that leads to the spiritual aspect of this, whether it's with darkness, whether it's with light, or whether it's our own connection. It leads to that. And that's where for years I've been saying if you get the paranormal, you get the UFO phenomena, you get spirituality, and you get science, and you ram all that together, we start to come to some type of understanding, which is why with myself, I've been, doing house calls. I don't do so much anymore because I'm doing more of an investigation as well as teaching here at Jaya Sanctuary. Up to
Mm-hmm.
even yesterday, we're doing telekinesis experiments. Actually, the last couple of days, probably why I'm a bit jittery at the moment. There's a lot of psychic energy the last few days that I've been using in experiments, but that's what it leads to. So there is people that are stuck in their ways sometimes, and again, it's not right or wrong. It's more people are just where they're at, but you've got to let the evidence lead you like anything. And
Yeah.
sometimes they don't want to go there because it's just like, again, like you're saying, even us being experienced as younger, when we're younger, you don't sort of want to talk about it after a certain point because of the ridicule or being told not to. And so some of these researchers are stuck in that way once they change their mind. But it's like, why can't we change our mind? That's where the evidence led. Do you want me to stick with
Mm-hmm.
the story that I had, or do you want me to change the story because that's where the evidence now leads? And that's
Mm-hmm.
part of soul growth and soul evolution as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. Now let's take that into Jaya Sanctuary. What do you want to share with my audience? What are you up to? What do you do there? Um, what are you helping people with? I know you're doing CE5 and you're even doing I guess is it courses on self-improvement or what exactly? Just give us all a really clear picture on what you do at the sanctuary would be awesome.
Yeah, so I've been lucky to work with a lot of master teachers on and off world. One of them being in America, in Washington State at the East City Ranch, James Gilliland. And I've been probably doing self mastery longer than any of this, about as long as the paranormal stuff. And what everything eventually led to, though, I knew many years ago this is where it was going to because I had a vision of the place that I'm at now, Jaya Sanctuary, which I will just say Jaya means is Sanskrit for self mastery, a balance of feminine and masculine. But
Hmm.
it also means victory. And all these things I want people to have in life and leave with this as food for thought for them, the word Jai in terms of what it represents. Because first and foremost, for me, whether it's psychic abilities, ghost hunting, UFO investigation, ET contact experiences, self mastery, whatever, it all does come back to the first foremost founding, which I just said, it's self mastery. That is absolutely key to all of this. So, my thing was bringing together like a curriculum over years, and people can come here just for a skywatch. I do skywatches around the world. I've traveled the world doing this, and teaching self mastery as well as initiating contact, which is you could say an expanded form of CE5. But really, what I wanted to do here was create a safe, sacred space. So people that are already experiencing this, or already initiating contact, and or getting into this to an extent, do this in a safe space. Because when you open up and you start going down this path, if you aren't aware of where your attention goes, energy flows, you can not just open up to anything, but also extremely dark things. So
Hmm.
my thing was to create a sacred, safe space so people can have multidimensional experiences and teach them clearings, how we initiate contact from a safe space so we're in alignment with high dimensional or high frequency intelligences. And also from that, what do you do now when they appear? Because everyone's all about CE5 and initiating contact, but they're not being taught how to communicate with the intelligences,
Hmm.
which I've got the connecting to your guides technique, which is bait for teaching people that type of thing. But entwined with the whole thing is remote viewing, is teaching self mastery. There is a number of different types of workshops that I do from here, but mainly it's initiating contact, remote viewing, self mastery, and then there's the connecting to your guides technique. We do things like yoga, meditations, a whole wide range of things, but I'm starting to sort of mix up things in a different niche that's more applicable and I guess for today's people with where people are at. And again, you've got to
Hmm.
meet the people that come here where they're at as well. So it's more having that space where people can do that. And I only do small settings. Like there's times where I've had up to 400 people at events. It's not a bad thing, but when you're working in a small setting of, let's say, 15 people max, it's more intimate. People get time with me, but also you can really get into the nitty gritty of like the consciousness aspect in a lot easier way, especially when you're in a nature setting as well. So it's more just educating people to do things and progress in a safe, sacred way, not just here, but they don't even have to come here, which is why I've got the online course where I've
Hmm.
condensed a lot of this down because it's just purely intention, but also clearings. If they can clear the space, have pure intention, and connect with the heart space, they're pretty much there. It's just now dropping one's expectations of what they think they should see and allowing the universe to allow them to experience what they need to. And if they do that each day, it can be totally different experiences every day and totally left the field as well. But it's usually what you need if you don't see that at the time until afterwards. It's what you needed to get you to that next stage.
Hmm. Hmm. Yes. I also agree with you that I think the phenomenon is very broad and inclusive, and pretty much everything that's outside of what I call the construct. And what I call the construct is well, I'm assuming it's humans that have done it, but religions and governments and economies and all of this that have created this false reality we think is real, and it's supposed to take up all our energy and our time and fill our head with all these things we're supposed to be doing. We really see that this time of year. I am assuming you do Christmas same time as we do in the northern hemisphere, although it's probably beautiful down there. It's
Yeah, it's
45
hot. We've been
45
having like
below
40.
zero here.
Yeah, we've been having 40 plus degrees Celsius days, and we just had a massive storm. So it's finally good to get that because it's been
Yeah.
quite dry. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't know if you have the same social expectations. I don't have any social expectations. I love it. I've basically engineered my life to make room for the things that I think are important.
Yeah.
And if that makes me rude, so be it. I have to, do what I do. So I have a very peaceful life. But wow, I got to tell you, sharing a lot of this information, it seems like we're preaching to the choir, because since we take it outside of this context, like if I go down to the rec center and I want to go have a sauna and there's some people in the sauna and I want to start talking about ET things, they cannot handle it. And it kind of is a shame, because that I think we're already at the point where the debate whether ET is a real thing or not is long over. We know it's a real thing. Millions of us know it's a real thing, but I think we're getting very close to the whole world realizing it's a real thing. And then maybe our jobs will shift a little bit, because there's going to be a lot of really freaked out people who are going to need the kind of assistance that we can give them. And that's why I think the sanctuary that you're doing is super important. There are other people who are also doing sanctuaries and things. But I wanted to just ask you flat out your honest opinion. Like, I know there's probably many different races of ETs. I consider us all one species. We're all humanoids. We're all intelligent. Well, most of the humans are intelligent, some are not so much. But I think that um, what they want is to help steer us into higher frequency living and our next stage of development. But what's your take, Pete? I don't want to put words in your mouth. What does ET want, and what do you think we can expect in the near future?
Yeah, it's a good and it's easily a question because ETs are in their own world as well of evolving to their next level, whether as a species, as a civilization, or even individually. And so there is also the forces out there that, just like humans, there's some humans that we could say aren't there yet. They may do some shady things. They're not in a good place, and they can do some pretty bad things. And as I say, it's a very small amount. It's like when you look at the human race, we tend to look at things like the cup half empty rather than half full. And if they wanted us gone, we would be gone. But what we're in a situation of is a negative, a positive, and a counterbalance occurring, and these cycles that we go through, these yugas. And so we are in sort of a what I call. I use this in some appointments when I see people going through a certain phase, and it's like the car's pulled over right now. And when a
Mm-hmm.
car pulls over in a race, to the driver and everyone watching it, everything's sort of stagnant. Nothing's really happening. Now, we are seeing things happening, but the analogy is that there's refueling and upgrading going on that car before it gets
Mm-hmm.
back on the tracks. And what you've got in between states is chaos. So an analogy with this is if we look at Simoscope, where you play a key and you see the vibrational frequency and there's beautiful geometry if it's done in a 4-3-2 way. When you hit, or even like whatever resonant frequency, there's geometry, there's harmony. But what happens when you go from one key frequency to the next, where you hit harmony again? There's no harmony, it's distorted. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's a lot of distortion going on, and it's actually an opportunity to rise to that next harmonic state. And what
Mm-hmm.
you've also got is bangs that resonate, though it's sort of going against what I'm saying, but people should understand what I'm saying. Their natural state is distortion. So there's energies that resonate with that resonate when we're going through anxiety, depression, lower thought forms. It's just the way that they are. And it
Mhm.
doesn't endorse what they're doing. There is a force behind all this that is non-human, that does not have humans' interests at heart. Because when you look at world events and why they're unfolding the way that they are, it's because non-humans are doing it, and humans could not possibly do that, though they will use humans as vessels to
Mhm.
implement, do, and unfold certain situations that they've done. But this is really, I'm convinced now through my own experiences, we're on a treadmill in God's mind and we're not going
Mhm.
anywhere. We're experiencing itself. And this is a soul evolution experience to when we create our own universe,
Mhm.
as far out as that seems. So my thing now is I'm not even worried about anything if, when, and how. My thing is this is happening on God's time. There's,
Mhm.
but you've got to balance that out with meeting the universe halfway. It doesn't mean you just sit here and everything's going to happen. You direct it through intention and thought. You make moves where you can, and you do that through intuition. And
Mhm.
it's sort of the situation, not just us, but extraterrestrials are going through that as well. And as I say, it's not all airy fairy out there. Even the angelics, they might be angelic intelligences, but they've also got darkness they've got to deal with as well, meaning the
Mhm.
demonic forces and that. So pardon me. We're in a counterbalance phase, but I don't see anything like super bad. Like, of course, like there's a lot of purging, releasing the past, healing that's got to go on, but we've also got to own our stuff within that and not live in those memories. Because when you live in the memories of what you've done that you're not pleased with or what's happened, you actually bring that to the present moment. And part of the
Mhm.
earth human experience is being a creator being a creative being in physical form. And you do that by being present and in the now and also in the
Mhm.
heart space. So I think, yeah, it's a bit of a mixture of my answer there, but I think it is very multidimensional what's happening. And I don't have all the answers or anything. And the good thing is, even the angelic, the Elohim, as well as the ETs, there's still mysteries to them as well. They do not have all the answers. They may know a lot, we could say scientifically and even spiritually to an extent, but there's still wonderment to them, which makes the universe such a big and beautiful place to myself. When I look at it that way, I don't look at like the the downside of it. I look at how big and beautiful this all is.
Mhm. Mhm. You know, what I found really interesting is when I started having contact as an adult, it was really clear uh, that there was things I should be doing and things I shouldn't be doing. The messages were absolutely clear. Like, for instance, I had to start being aware of my speech, the words I chose to use. And it wasn't until later on I realized, there can be people religious as religious can be, but if they're running around gossiping and spreading rumors, they're actually doing dark spell casting.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
be-
spelling, that's the word, the spoken word.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I had to clean up my own life, my own thoughts, my own desires, my own intentions. And I'm not kidding. It's been years and years of really hard work every day, all day long. Like, I never have time off, and I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining how it is for me. So I was told early on, don't. I got the idea came into my mind. I thought, my goodness, with all this stuff I'm learning, I could start a religion. And my guide said, no, 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 you're not going to start a religion. In fact, stay away from anybody who is starting a religion because they're having these experiences and all kinds of other things. So, and I still am a witness. I don't know how to explain that. I'm a witness within my own head. So I'm a witness of all my thoughts, my desires, my intentions, and I get to course correct. And then the other advantage of being an older person is I get to look at my life, see what worked, what didn't work so well, and I get to course correct in the now based on my history, and I get to make tomorrow better and better and better. And every tomorrow is better because I'm able to course correct now. So there's this huge educational program that comes with all of this, and it's not unique to me. And I just wonder if you have any thoughts about that, Peter.
No, I think that's a beautiful way. I don't stop. I was even saying yesterday, I'm first and foremost a student. And to be a teacher, you've always got to be a student. But we're teaching each other, and I think it's a very good way that you put that. Is we've got each data course correct. With
Mhm.
that, you can see pattern recognition. I don't think there's
Yes.
even mistakes. There's lessons, but there's also got to be a big lesson learned. If you keep repeating the same mistake and you're getting the same results, but it's also knowing seasons in life, like planting seeds at the right time and doing things when sometimes you might want to do things off the cuff and it works, other times it won't, because there's seasons and a timing. Even though time's an illusion, there's a timing issue with this.
Mhm.
And I think it's a very beautiful way that you put that. And that does come with time, that we've got all the knowledge, but it's how we implement that knowledge, which is where the wisdom kicks in, and the practical, the partaking in things, of doing things, that is where all this lies in the heart and the intention with that as well. So it is one of those things that we're going through it, extraterrestrial intelligences are going through it, otherworldly intelligences are going through it. And that's self mastery right there, of seeing, like, being able to go dig deep into all that, but not live in that. And by being present and changing your story, you change the now. And that's where you change the world, is by changing you. You change within, that projects outside of yourself. And if enough of us do it, it starts to have that roll on effect. Uh,
Mhm.
that's the key with this. The change starts within.
I agree. And what are your thoughts about the connection between health and spirituality? So I had to overcome a lot of challenges with what I was eating, what I was doing for entertainment, on and on and on. It seemed like it would never end. And now I've stripped off a lot of addictions and things. But what is your take on, because I believe that we have to look after and nurture our biology because it is technology. And so all the things you're talking about with the pineal and the third eye and all of that, that's our technology. That's, to me, that is what gives us all the ability to have transdimensional experiences. So I just wonder if you want to speak to that a little bit, taking care of your health, because I know it's something
Yeah,
nobody
no, it,
wants
it
to do.
definitely is. It definitely is. I do a lot of yoga and boxing and karate and meditation. And I live off a lot of green smoothies as well. And I have for many years. Like, I've had a strict workout routine. I'm 42 now, since I was about 18. And I've been on green smoothies now probably for about 15 years regularly. Like, basically, it's what I live off. And I'm not saying to others to do that. You've got to work out what diet works for you, because we've all got different needs. Whether it's,
Mm-hmm.
eating meat or vegetarian or what have you, you've got to do what works for you. But this is the testament to the person and their experiences, is the change that comes with it. This is the proof that's beyond ways that only those that really know that person can see, from speech, from the way that we think, from what we eat, from the way and that we treat others, to the circle that we surround ourselves with, to the fruit that we take in. And what I mean by that is not just food physically, but also information, media, um, every aspect of your life changes. And it's a bit of winging it, because what works for another experiencer in terms of food practices may not work for the next. And so
Mm-hmm.
this is where you're going through a phase of not having external validation, though you want to know you're in truth and on the right thing. And it's a bit of a trial and error thing of working out what food works for you. And also, people will come and go. There
Mm-hmm.
are seasons, and we're all teachers to each other, and that's part of the journey. But in God's mind, we reunite with all. This
Mm-hmm.
is just a journey, but the vessel that you're using right now, this is, we could say, the most advanced biological device in the universe, and we still don't understand it, with trillions, I think over 3 trillion volts running through it, we now know scientifically. And the
Mm-hmm.
way that the brain, the wiring, the heart brain, the gut brain, the way that we operate, we're learning more and more on a daily basis. And this is the biggest sensor, the biggest tool that we've got for multidimensional mind and communication, is via the body, but it's the consciousness, the awareness, the mind behind the mind. You alluded to this, and I say to people, if you can observe my voice and you realize there's a place behind that that's witnessing you observing my voice. That is the mind behind the mind, where all intelligences are one mind, that you
Mhm.
interface with the Bigfoot, a fairy, an angel, an ET, what have you. But you've got to look after the vessel.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And that was one of the hardest things for me to learn. And it was very closely tied into self-love. I believe we're not really taught what love is. People think it's some kind of a romantic thing, the fuzzy feeling you get in the pit of your stomach when you see someone you're attracted to. Well, I found love was a whole lot more than that. It is like a basket. It contains faithfulness and self-control and mildness and kindness and peacefulness and joyfulness and all these things. And to get mastery in any one is a big job, but then it's like we're juggling them all at the same time, and it's a big job to try to be absolutely true. But I found that being my own internal witness has helped a lot, because I can't bullshit it. And so I have to do an honest appraisal. I have to do the dark night of the soul. It's icky, but so is sometimes my lifestyle. Like I've given up so many things, like alcohol and all kinds of things. I just don't do it anymore because it's not in my best interest, and I don't want to. It's not, I'm not at my best. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with, if, people out there want to consume alcohol and they can do that in a safe way. That's great. But for me, no, it was not good for me. And I had to recognize it, admit it, and deal with it. And that's just many, many. What I
Yeah.
was eating was horrific, ultra refined processed foods. I was completely addicted to it. It's taken me years, but now I've not had any processed food now for probably 20 years, Pete. Seriously, long
Yeah.
time. I don't even think about it. I don't even desire it anymore. But I had to do a lot of work that way. And then I started getting the spiritual results and the happiness that I think is our birthright, to be happy and content. It's a wonderful thing. Oh, I just noticed we're quickly running out of time. Pete, what have you got for, first of all, where people can find you? It will be, your website will be in the description below, but if you want to tell anybody, where they can find you, and also what you got coming up. And also, do you have a message or anything you'd like to say to the audience before we close out the show today?
Yeah, Karen, people can go to gisanctuary.com and everything is there, even links to social media for Jaya Sanctuary as well as Peter Maxwell Slattery as well. So I've got two different sort of social media followings. Um, Basically, what's coming up for myself is I've got an event in Hawaii with James Gilliland in the start of February. I'll probably be back
Nice.
in America around the middle of the year as well to do some stuff in America, so people
Mhm.
can keep up to date there as well. And I've just got a lot of events starting back up. I've got an actual online remote viewing course, 1 day course that I'm teaching around the middle of January. So there's that, and
Mhm.
then basically all the events start back up with Jaya Sanctuary for the whole year going into December. So there's always something going on, but I think at
Mhm.
this time, just relax, be present, like just let go. Like, as I say to people, you can put your arm up. If I tell you to leave your arm up, you're going to leave your arm up. Some people might, and what I say is just drop it. It's as easy with everything going on in the world right now. Just drop it. You can drop
Mhm.
your arm, just let it go, be present, be the best you, and just relax as well. It's very strong energies right now with the solstice,
Yeah.
Christmas time, everything going on. It was planned this way with the cycles, the seasons, energies, but just drop what doesn't serve you, come back to the present and focus, reorientate, and it's all about what's in alignment with heart energy.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely. And the other thing that I take comfort in is the ETs or whatever is all around us and through us and whatever. They're all on a spiritual journey as well. They're all improving and working on it, probably screwing up and starting again, just
Yeah.
like we are. So, I think that's important, where I don't look up to them as being godlike or, infallible, or that I have to do everything they said or anything like that. Just catching the end of the live chat. Thank you, everyone who joined today. In case I don't see you, Merry Christmas, much love. Okay, well, we're pretty much out of time. Peter, this has been absolutely amazing. I hope you'll come back in 2026 and see us again. I wish you the very, very best in over the season in 2026 with all your projects. You're doing an amazing job. I appreciate you so very much. I know my audience does too. And I want to thank my audience, those that are listening on an audio podcast or a replay, or if you're watching this live or you're catching it later. I appreciate each and every one of you very, very much. Thank you again, Denise, for being my moderator, and my friends who come and join me. I will be doing a show on Wednesday, which is Christmas Eve. Joan Biden might meet me on the show, and I'm just going to talk about stuff. I don't have a plan. I don't have a guess. I'm just going to talk about stuff. Now, I know it's a super busy time for a lot of you, but if some of you are just sitting around going, no, my life is not that exciting, I could sit in on your show, then please do. You're more than welcome. Love to see you. And I guess that's it for today. Again, thank you, Peter, and I wish you absolute best. Take care, everybody. We'll see you on Wednesday. Thank you for joining me for the Aliens and Angels podcast. Read about my true life ET contact in my book called Transdimensional Meet the New Neighbors, which is now available on Amazon worldwide. Subscribe to my YouTube, Rumble, and X channels at Karen Holton TV. The like button and leave me a comment. And please do share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All of the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you'll also find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.